The GCR Ratings Agency, it's an affiliate of Moody's essentially, has downgraded the City of Johannesburg's credit rating, also revised its outlook from stable to negative. It's all the usual scenarios, I'm afraid. Poor service delivery, the power cuts, and the weak rate of collection. So not enough money coming in from ratepayers seems to be the problem at the moment. It's all contributing to the Metro's poor performance, which the agency says has actually worsened over the past financial year. Well, how surprised is Economist Professor Bonke Dumisa? Let's find out. The Prof making time for me this morning. Hello to you, Prof. Good to have you with us. So a world-class African city has been downgraded. What do you make of it?
Well, to start on that one of the world-class city being downgraded, the America has also been downgraded, even though it has been downgraded within the very good investment grade. So a downgrade per se is not necessarily the worst thing that can happen. But in the case of Johannesburg Metro, what makes it very worse is that it is not just a question of some of the global constraints, economic constraints of inflation and things like that, but they also have a problem with their own service delivery, which in turn triggers the endless service delivery protests, which affects the economy. But worse still is the part about inadequate collection. When we are the ratepayers and the citizens and residents of any place, it is also an obligation on us to pay for the services that we get. And in the case of Johannesburg, we continuously hear people from Soweto in particular saying that there is a certain rate of 200 rands per household agreed decades ago, and that is what they're going to pay. And when the city tries to disconnect people, accidents happen. When I say accidents, the people who are trying to disconnect are affected, are threatened, etc. In fact, some of them have been killed. So you find then that at the end, the Metro cannot really collect. And that is one of the challenging things then that metros and other places have got to deal with.
I see that you were cited in an article online, Prof, as well. I'm glad you were talking about the residents, because I wanted to go there next. You're cited in an article as well, where, and tell me if I'm misquoting you here, the failure of ratepayers to make payments is not due to non-affordability. It's not they can't pay it, not they don't have the money, but it's a sense of entitlements. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, I've been correctly quoted, and I'm not apologetic about that thing. I grew up in an environment in the 70s and 80s where there was this political thing of saying, "Asinamali, we do not have money," and it was part of the political struggle against apartheid. Unfortunately, you have some people who are still pursuing that thing now, when the government of the country is their government. So when you don't pay, it means you're sabotaging that very same government that you are complaining about in terms of service delivery. So for every right, there must be some obligations. And we, as the consumers and ratepayers, must play our part so that when we accuse the government of not delivering, we must be clear in our consciences that we've done our part and the government has not fulfilled their part.
I suppose the problem could be, Prof, is that people are not wanting to pay. I'm generalizing here, obviously I am. I don't mean to generalize too broadly, but people are not wanting to pay for services because they feel they're not getting the services, so they're not going to pay. I feel we're just going to go on a merry-go-round here. So where do we try and fix the problem?
On both sides. We must not mince our words in criticizing the Johannesburg Metro and other metros and other councils, local councils, for not delivering, and it is a fact that in many instances they don't deliver, and the community has got the right to put pressure on them to deliver. I mean, yesterday you had a joke of hearing about a war room on potholes. How can you have a war room on potholes? Because potholes must be fixed. So they do have to deliver, but I am saying equally with us as the residents and ratepayers, we have an obligation to pay because money does not grow on trees. So if we keep on demanding more services, but you're not paying, I mean, we hear about the people who are trying to disconnect electricity being killed. That has got to stop. But by the same token, if ever you hear people who keep on don't getting their water in Gauteng, especially in Joburg, because there are certain incompetencies in dealing with the water issues, then the people are entitled to demand that be sorted out, and even use other forms of protest action in order to show that they mean business.
What does this mean economically, Prof? If we put your economist hat firmly back on as well for the moment, what does it mean just for the city? Because at the moment there's a downgrading. My very basic understanding of it is that any future loans are going to be incredibly expensive to pay back, higher interest rates, more conditions. What does it just mean economically for the city, just as I start saying goodbye?
You have already explained where the problem is. If you are downgraded, it means you will struggle to get further loans. And even with those loans you get, they are going to be at higher interest rates. And if they are at higher interest rates, it means the very same ratepayers then, and unfortunately it is the ones who pay, who will be affected, because then they will be expected to pay even more rates. Because let us look at the issue of electricity. All the metros and all the local councils have increased the electricity tariffs by not less than 15%, which is unaffordable. But it is because of those people who are not paying who are actually making it worse for those metros and those local councils to afford getting electricity for their ratepayers.
Give me one thing, Prof, as I say goodbye to you, that could try and turn the tide back in the City of Johannesburg's favour. What's the one thing that could actually make a difference for investor confidence and possibly see a more stable investor outlook?
I think the metros, including Johannesburg, must be very honest with their ratepayers and open their books to say, this is what we've been expecting to get in terms of rates, and this is what we've been expecting to get in terms of electricity and water. We don't have them. So how can we deliver more to you if we are not fulfilling your part? We need an honest discussion now between government and the people.
Open the books. Economist Professor Bonke Dumisa. Prof, always good talking to you. Thank you very much for taking time and joining me this morning. Prof Bonke Dumisa, talking about this downgrading of the City of Johannesburg's credit rating. It has such serious knock-on effects as well. But as you can hear, it's not as simple as just a downgrading. It's the reasons behind that, what's led us to this position, that is very, very worrying.